Good afternoon, guys. We're about to get started here. Got a couple of changes that came up this morning. So, a little bit different format today than what I was originally planning. Good afternoon, Ham Radio 2.0 Lunchtime Livestream is noon in Texas on Wednesday, December 2nd. So, that is always fun. And I'm going to bring Frank on. Look at that.
What is up?
You got a deer behind you, Frank. Oh, that's no.
There's a deer behind me?
There's not deer antlers. That looks like it's a Yagi antenna. But I've got hunting season on the brain, so it looked like deer antlers, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see anything behind me.
Yeah, it's that Yagi antenna that's on the tripod behind you. Your satellite arrow antenna. Do you not have any muted?
What's up?
Do you have the YouTube video not muted?
It's going on another computer. Let me go do that.
That's all right. It's just way in the background, just making sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I was wondering if you heard that or not.
I do hear it. Yes, I do hear it. Very, very good. So
it's gone.
Lunchtime today. I'm eating a sandwich, man.
I have, for the first time. Well, not the first time, but I have pizza today. Ooh.
Nice. So I was out yesterday. I ran. This is kind of a cool story. A viewer lent me an ICOM IC7100 because I had made that comment in a couple of videos about whether it had an internal sound card or not. So he sent me an email and he's like, "Hey man, I'm not using mine right now. If you want to borrow it, you can do some videos with it." I'm quite cool. So I went and picked it up yesterday. So you're going to see that. I'll probably work on some videos for that next week. Somebody says my audio is low. Let me know how my audio sounds compared to Frank's. Yeah, it should be pretty even. Yeah, y'all let me know. Thanks, Clark. But you're the only one saying that. But yeah, let me know how the audio is compared to Frank.
This is Frank's audio now. This is a KG5HJ.
Okay.
What's going on?
I had myself
louder.
I had myself turned down because usually my mic is hotter than the mic I have piped into a Zoom.
Yes.
But okay.
Chad says audio is okay now.
Travis says too high. I can still hear you. And that's
a Travis comment.
See, this is why nobody likes Travis. This is why he has no friends in the world at all. Still waiting for my free beer, Travis, at that new place you're working. So anyway, so I met him up in Frisco yesterday, and that's that Hard 8 is there, and I'm like, I'm going to pick up Hard 8 for dinner tonight. My wife's been working extra hours this week, so I've been trying to take care of dinner as much as I can, which I'm not very good at, as you know. So I picked up Hard 8. I got some brisket, and I got some what they call shrimp poppers, which are brush poppers with shrimp instead of chicken. And I got some sides and whatnot, brought all that home. And you know what? It was good, but it's not as good as I remember. And their brisket, I've always thought that the Meet You Anywhere brisket was better than the Hard 8 brisket.
I agree.
But but it's been a while since I've had Hard 8 because I don't go there a lot. It's kind of expensive. There's not one really close to me.
There's one kind of close to you inside of Grapevine. It's over on the other side of Bass Pro Shop.
Well, that's Coppell, technically. That's Coppell.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the closest one to me. It's not that far away. You're right. It's not that far away, but Meet You Anywhere is closer.
Agreed.
Meet You Anywhere is actually in Grapevine. So anyway, I was reminded that I ate some of that brisket last night. I'm like, this is good brisket, but it's not as good as I remember it. So you're always telling me that you don't like Hard 8, and I thought you would like that story.
Yeah. No, Hard 8 is good for the visiting. You got a visitor or someone's new to the area or just new to Texas and I want to go try some barbecue.
Yeah.
Take them to Hard 8. The Hard 8 it has the awesome barbecue experience. You walk through the pits, they open up the giant warming oven they have. You see all the meat laid out for you. You see them tending the smokers, and you have all the heat around you, especially when it's cold outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great experience, but in the end, I find it typical barbecue. I won't call it great.
Right.
Usually those warmers are a little too hot to keep everything hot, and it ends up drying everything out.
All right. The last time Bob was in town, he wanted to eat there, and he loved it. Of course, he's from New York. He doesn't get good barbecue. Yeah, he doesn't get good barbecue up there. So, but yeah. So, okay. First of all, let me acknowledge David Richardson sent $10 super chat. Thank you very much. He says, I just got my call sign, passed the technician test after watching your test prep streams. Thank you. He new call sign KJ7SRO. Awesome. Congrats on the new call sign. Hope to hear you on the air. So let us know what you're going to be doing. Why did you get into ham radio? Was it for HF, Parks on the Air, DMR, D-Star? What are you planning to do? Second of all, speaking of Bob, Bob was going to come on today. We were going to talk about some stuff that he has upcoming from RFinder, but he had a minor emergency arise this morning, so I don't think we're going to see him today. Nothing life-threatening or anything like that. It's a business emergency. He had to go take care of a client. But
maybe he's getting the USB charger port to work on his phone.
I don't think it had anything to do with I don't think it had anything to do with RFinder specifically. But we'll see. So I'm going to so what I am going to do is I'm going to bring in, hold on a second, because I don't think I have her call sign. I'm going to bring in I lost my Kristina Collins. No, I don't have her call sign. She's part of the HamSCI group. She did some presentations at the HamSCI event in March of 2020 that I recorded and reposted on this channel. And she was also at the Tapper event last year, which was in Albuquerque when we were in 2019, the Tapper event in 2019.
Those Tapper videos are very great videos. If you want to learn something new about ham radio or where to get started, if there's a Tapper presentation for it, that's your first step. Has to be your first step.
Yeah. And they get pretty in depth in some of the stuff they do also. So, but yeah, they do a good job. So it's good. But she's going to come on and tell us about the Festival of Frequency upcoming later this month. So, and she's going to be better at explaining it than I will. So let me bring her in real quick. Frank, I'm going to kick you out just so she's got more of the screen, but I'll bring you back in after she's done.
All right. Sounds good.
That's not good. Nobody wants to see that. There it is. Hey, Kristina.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Pretty well.
Oh, good. Hey, tell me your call sign again. You don't have it in your email signature.
Oh, KD8OXT, Kilo Delta 8 Oscar X-Ray Tango.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you very much for being here today. I know you had emailed me, or I think we traded some emails back during. That was Tapper this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was during Tapper.
Right. Yeah. The DCC that was also virtual this year. But I saw you speak for the first time last year at the 2019 conference. We were all in Albuquerque, so that was cool to see a lot of the same faces again this year on the virtual session. But okay, so you're going to tell us today about the Festival of Frequency. So people are going to want to know what it is and how to get signed up and how it. What's the purpose of it? Not only what it is, but what are you trying to do? So go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So first of all, if I send you some links here, can you disseminate those?
Yes.
All right. There's two. So one is to the experiment page, and one is the link for the sign-up sheet for the interest list and for the mailing list.
Okay.
And we're coming up on like 100 sign-ups, but it's you never know for sure at this stage. You don't know until you get your data in hand.
Okay.
So, okay, let's see. So the first of all, this is the third Festival of Frequency Measurement, and the motivating event for this one is that there's going to be a total solar eclipse across South America on December 14th. And so the goal of these events is to act as pilot experiments for the Personal Space Weather Station project, which is something that HamSCI is working on.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a way for us to look at the ionosphere from many, many more locations by working with the amateur community and the shortwave listening community in order to build up a better picture and get more instrumentation out there. Because, we rely on the ionosphere for getting our transmissions from A to B, but we don't have that many sampling points when you really think about it.
Yeah.
So it's like we're trying to figure out what the surface of this ocean is doing, and every new station is like a buoy, and you're figuring things out from looking at what the buoys are doing.
It's a good way to put it.
So the first one that we did was for the centennial of WWV. It was October 2019, and I've talked about that one at Tapper and at HamSCI. And we just got our first peer-reviewed journal paper accepted about that experiment. So it takes about a year or so from like the point when you're actually collecting the data to the point that you can have it get into the academic literature. And HamSCI, which you can read about at hamsci.org, HamSCI, people are going to be familiar with that, is about bridging that gap between the intuitive knowledge that ham radio operators have about propagation and the geoscience community that is looking at it from this other angle. So, you know, on the geoscience side, you have networks of ionosons, you have networks of instrumentation, you have maps of total electron content. On the ham radio side, you have RBN, and you have WhisperNet, and you have actually really great data sets that are getting collected every day that give us information about radio wave propagation. And Nathaniel Fursell and some other people in the HamSCI community had some really great papers from the 2017 eclipse on this. And the reason we care about eclipses is because there's all kinds of things impacting the ionosphere at different times. You've got everything coming from space weather from above, you've got everything coming from terrestrial weather from below. And an eclipse is sort of like one of your few things that's like a controlled experiment. Because, you know, if something happens on the night side of the Earth versus the day side of the Earth, is it happening because it's dark, or is it happening for other reasons? And what the eclipse does is it sort of lets you take a look at, okay, well, here's a place where it was dark, but everything was still oriented as though it were daytime. What happened here? So it's generating traveling ionospheric disturbances that we're trying to measure. And the idea of having many ham radio operators out there recording data is that we might be able to get a better view of what's going on. So the personal space weather station is about doing that kind of permanently, but the pilot experiments are about setting up a temporary system and getting to go through the whole pipeline of, like, you know, figuring out how to conceptualize what we're looking for, to collecting data, to looking at the data. For a long-term installation, you've got a lot more unknowns. And for a short-term pilot experiment, those decisions get made for you. You know, who's going to collect data for you? The people who are willing to collect data for you. Where will they be? Wherever they are. And we're looking to get global participation for this one. The eclipse is in South America, but like the last one that we did in June was across China, and probably my best data set was Dutch when it was all said and done. I got this wonderful group of amateur radio operators in the Netherlands, and I got, you know, because the fact was when I had a whole bunch of people in one place, I could see what their lines were doing. So wherever you are, help me do science. So the, let's see, I'm looking at my little checklist. You said what it is, how to sign up, and what we're going to use the data for.
Yeah.
So the, a little bit about how to sign up in the participation. As I said, we're trying to get people from every continent, and this one is going to be kind of a long duration experiment. It's going to go from the 9th to the 16th. And the reason for that is that we need to have control data of what your ionosphere looks like during that time.
Right.
What you're actually doing is you're taking your radio, you're tuning to your favorite time standard station, which a lot of us is going to be WWV.
Right.
If you're in South America, you're probably going to pick up WWV. You may also pick up PPE from Observatorio Nacional in Brazil. And so you're just going to set that up. Then you're going to tune down 1 kilohertz. And so what you would hear then is you'd hear the 1 kilohertz tone that is the carrier signal from WWV. And then you set up recording, and you record a wave file during that time. and upload it to a link that's linked on the website. And then I will do data processing. Mm-hmm. First thing I'm going to look for is I'm going to look for Doppler shifts. Mm-hmm. And we're having people listen to time standard stations, but if you can't hear a time standard station, all the time, then that's useful too, because we know when you do and don't have a propagation path from that location. Mm-hmm. But it's a way of taking advantage of that infrastructure and the fact that those stations have very precise carrier signals. Mm-hmm. If you have a GPS DO at your station, it's better because it means that any irregularities that we see in the frequency you're receiving are only due to propagation effects. They're only due to that ionospheric ceiling going up and stretching out the wave fronts and bringing the frequency that you're receiving down, or due to it coming down and scrunching the wave fronts and bringing the frequency you're receiving up. So let's see. Lost my train of thought.
Right. I do that all the time.
So yeah.
Go ahead.
So when recording data from the 9th to the 16th, if you have a data outage, that's completely fine. Hopefully you can catch that bit on the 14th when the eclipse is actually coming through, and some time during the same period of time on the other days. And more data is always better for me as I go through and kind of make a chart of what all of the stations are seeing and look at different ways to visualize it. Okay. When the experiment is concluded, this data set, along with other HamSCI data sets, are made public. So anybody who wants to can go in and try different analysis techniques on the data that we have. Historically, when we've done these, we've used the frequency analysis mode in FLDigi. Mm-hmm. So for people who've done the ARRL frequency measuring test, right? It's a thing where you have this person named Connie has a NIST traceable transmitter and turns on that transmitter, key down for like a couple of minutes in one frequency band at a certain appointed time, and it's in a range. You don't know exactly what that frequency is. Connie knows what that frequency is. And then, 20 minutes later or something, you go to a different band and it's key down for a couple of minutes. And during that time, you can do whatever you want to do to try to figure out what exactly that transmitter is set at. Okay. You can listen to WWV all day and you can compare, and that's what the frequency analysis mode, if you use FLDigi, is for, right. Is for looking at a consistent carrier wave and figuring out what that carrier wave is doing. So the paper we just finished, what we did at the WWV Centennial, was we had people use FLDigi to listen to the carrier signal of their favorite time standard station and do a frequency estimation. And then they would just send us the CSV file, which is an easy, compact way to look at that information. Okay. And this works pretty well if you are picking up WWV to varying degrees throughout the day. Because we're doing something different from what the FMT is trying for. When you do the FMT, you're trying to figure out what the frequency at the transmitter is. When you're listening to WWV, we already know what the frequency at the transmitter is. It's 10 megahertz, or it's 5 megahertz, or it's 2.5, one of the beacons. Right. But whatever it is that to 1 part in 10 to the 12th. Okay. So okay. There's noise, right, from the ionosphere doing things. Because they've got a whole bunch of cesium clocks that are connected up in a bank, and they all vote on what time it is. Okay. And that's how they figure out precisely, what the time standard of the United States is that they are disseminating through WWV. Okay. And then it goes through the ionosphere and it gets, a little bit mangled. Mm-hmm. So normally you don't like these ionospheric effects if you're trying to figure out what a transmitter frequency is. That is precisely controlled, because it's adding noise to your signal. In the case of the folks at HamSCI trying to figure out what the bottom of the ionosphere is doing, we want to see that noise, because that's our data signal. So having a precise transmitter, having as precise a receiver as possible, this is a really good way to get a sense of the movement in ionospheric height at the point of reflection. Mm. And for every receiver that you have out there, you can think of that as being like another pixel in a display. Mm-hmm. So this is the part of this that is new. You know, I've got a stack of books here that are decades old where people are like, oh, and here's a Doppler trace that I took of WWV. You know, this is a very old way of figuring out information about the ionosphere. But what's new now, and what I think is exciting for the hams of today, is that this is the first time that we've been able to have instrumentation that is plentiful enough and cheap enough that we can all do this, and then we can look at what we all have together, and we can see all of the different viewpoints on what is going on. So yeah, if people want to sign up on the mailing list or shoot me an email, the one thing that I think might cause any difficulty in collecting data is that it does take a fair amount of data storage. You're looking at, you know, 1 or 2 gigs a day. So you'll probably want to upload possibly more than once or set aside some space on your computer. But other than that, it's pretty much letting it run. The reason we switched from FLDigi, where you're just collecting this CSV file, to the WAV files that are very large, is because when we were looking at the June eclipse, I put out a data call and we had a practice day, and we're having our first practice run for the December eclipse this Saturday, December 5th. We'll be collecting data from 00 UTC to 2359 UTC on December 5th. And then I receive the data to the same link and, you know, the same basic procedure. And then I analyze it and tell people, okay, you know, here's what I saw. So we did that for June with FLDigi files. And what I found was that all of the graphs looked weird in Europe. And it was because they were actually receiving 2 stations. So we were using this algorithm that was looking for a single carrier frequency. And it was seeing 2. And so it was like, oh, it's here. No, it's here. No, it's here. And so the graph would just bounce back and forth. And with a WAV file, I can go back and I can say, okay, why did it do that? What was the actual information here? But if you're getting just the derived data product at the beginning, then you're kind of stuck. Gotcha. So for the June eclipse, one of the things that we did was I sort of told everybody, hey, I know we have a week to go, but if it would be at all possible, do you think that instead of recording the small CSV file, you could record these enormous WAV files and then try to figure out how to get them to me? And the ham community stepped up, man. Like, people were like, yes, okay, I've tried this and I've tried that. You're going to run into this problem, I promise you. And it's, you know, people really were very participatory in this set of experiments. That's good. And so for December, I have what I hope, but I know this is not the case. I hope that we have a simple, straightforward, foolproof procedure that will never give us any problems. But I know that I will be, again, relying on the community to let me know what they're running into and to sort of, you know, rapidly test this whole system. And once we have those WAV files, you know, I kind of have a plan for what I want to do in the analysis, but there may be things that I'm not thinking of that people will then want to go back and look at. So, you know, I mainly have used WWV as a carrier signal so far, but you miss a lot of information if that's the only thing that you're looking at. Like, there's plenty of people who have stations where they hear WWV and they hear WWVH. And those are 2 stations in 2 different places with 2 different points of reflection, but they're singing the same tune at the same time. So how do I untangle that? You know, so maybe I look at the 500 versus 600 hertz in the side bands, or, you know, whatever. But that's all stuff that if I have the WAV files, I can look at it now. And I can also look at it later. Cool. All right. Anything I'm missing? I think that was pretty much my spiel.
That was pretty in depth. I mean, I followed probably 90% of what you said, but you lost me in a couple places. So.
Oh, okay. Well, are there any questions that I can?
No, I mean, it's good to. I mean, the basic premise is that you're wanting to use the eclipse to measure ionospheric tendencies and habits of radio waves that pass through the ionosphere at a certain point in time. And with the eclipse, you get everything the same as it would be at noon, but it might be dark outside. So you get to eliminate the factor of whether it's, well, the moon's over here on this one, so is it because the moon's on this part of the sky every time and the sun's on the other side of the earth, or what? And this kind of eliminates that problem. So it gives you a little bit more control point. I don't know if that's the scientific word for it, but
it's basically what you have. So all of the simulations and things that people do in geophysics or in geospace science, there's this assumption that you have kind of this reference ionosphere, which is like imagining that you have a perfectly calm ocean and then comparing everything off of that. Like it's you need to have some, it's like the isotropic antenna example that people would talk about when you were working on your tech. Like, what does it look like? Well, it doesn't exist. But if it did, and then you go from there. And so, you don't really get to do a fully controlled experiment, but you can kind of poke it from different angles.
Sure.
And you can figure out what it does under circumstance A and circumstance B, and then you can compare them. And with eclipses, we get this great chance to have sort of a natural chance to do that. The only downside is that you cannot procrastinate at all.
Yeah.
So
you have to, you got a limited window of time for sure.
We're also preparing for the in 2024. There's going to be 2 eclipses across the United States coming up. There's one in 2023 and 2024. We're trying to get the first passes at the Personal Space Weather Station Network with the Tangerine folks, and then also with the GRAPE project, which is the one we're working on that's specific to Doppler shifts. That whole infrastructure set up so that we're ready, to take that picture of the eclipse coming across.
Good.
So we're already planning ahead for it. And the amount of information that came out of the eclipse of 2017 that went across the United States was kind of incredible. And there's a long history of these types of eclipse experiments. In 1920, I want to say 6, so I will. There was an eclipse across the United States that passed through New York, and the Scientific American did this big eclipse event for it. And they had people go out onto the streets of New York and make, they basically had them take measurements according to this set of things. And from the measurements people were taking, they confirmed that the sun was not shrinking, which is good because they thought it might have been. That was like the big deal. But they also did do a radio thing where they had like a couple of stations around like, New York and Schenectady, and they had people like listen on their radios. They were like, yes, have your stenographer sit there and take notes during the eclipse. So, you're missing what's going on while this is happening, obviously, because you're focused on your radio. But have them take notes during the eclipse of which words you can't hear very well in this speech we're going to read. And then we're going to look at that, and we're going to let you know what the propagation effect was. You have a station that's on one side of totality, and then you're listening on the other side, and you're listening on the same side, and and they're trying to set up the structure. And what they found was that they got a lot of citizen participation, but they didn't have a good method for getting a ton of data out of it. And so when you read the article, there's a couple things in it that are kind of funny. One is they say, well, here's what we got from our stations that we controlled, where we were, we had our test equipment set up. And then you all sent us letters, and it's great, and we'll get to them, and that's in there. And then there's never another article.
Oh.
And then or if there is, I haven't read it.
Yeah.
And then there's a little segment that I've started, sticking places. That's this little sidebar that says, the next eclipse crossing America, that will come through this area will be in 2024. And even we at Scientific American are not optimistic enough to start planning for that one. So, but that was the first QSO party. And then the thing that the HamSCI folks organized in 2017 was the solar eclipse QSO party, and they got pretty good data out of that one. It kind of proved that you can use RBN and other networks to get, really quite potentially quite useful data.
Yeah.
Because, if you're trying to set up a network for scientific measurement, where the stations land, you have to make sure that all those stations stay up, and that's on you. But if you have this community that you're relying on, and everybody's doing it because it's part of the hobby and it's fun and it's interesting, and as a ham, it'll give you information about your maximum usable frequency.
Yeah.
And things that eventually, one of the hopes for the Space Weather Station is that there will be stuff that'll be very good for ham radio operators to know from their QTH. Then it becomes this you know, much more fun project, frankly, but you can also make it be much bigger. You know, all I did was set up a website, and I've got, you know, people all over the world who are like, yeah, sure, I'll help. And that's great. And that's one of the great things about being able to do this with other hams.
Right. Totally. Well, cool. Hey, and that sounds like a cool project. So I may have to do a follow-up with you afterwards to see how it went. And what kind of, you said you had about 100 signups right now. How many did you have during the last one?
We've had like almost exactly 50 for each of the experiments that we've done. Let's see.
So you've got a lot more than that.
I don't have a good map handy, but there's a couple. So if you go to the HamSCI website, you look at the June experiment page, which is basically like if you took the link that I just gave you and where it says December, you type in June. At the top of that, you'll see this map with dots for each of the people. And we got every continent except Antarctica for that one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So, you know, it was 50 signups for our first experiment, 50 signups for our second experiment. This one, we've had a lot of really great coverage. You know, obviously I'm here. We didn't do that before.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We were just featured on Hackaday. They had an article 2 days ago where they were like, you know, man, ham radio needs to embrace the hacker community. There's not enough stuff with SDRs, and there's not enough stuff with science, and there's, you know, it's all about MCOM, and you know, I was like, well, here, and they were like, this is cool, and so they put out an article about it, and I've started to see little upticks for people. Where did you hear about this? Hackaday. So, you know, so there's been that. There's been the IARU. I should mention the instructions for setting up your station. There's versions in English and Spanish and Portuguese. So hopefully people all over Region 2 will be able to access it and put together data files, and we'll get something interesting out.
Cool.
And you know, you never know with these, but we'll see what we get, and it's always a fun ride anyhow. For sure.
Well, hey, that sounds really fun. I will definitely follow up with you via email after it's all said and done and see how we did. So
all right, sure thing. Great. Well, hey, thanks very much for having me, and 7-3 to you and everybody out there.
Yeah, 7-3 to you too. Thanks for your time today, Kristina.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. All right, we'll switch off of that. So that's some, you know what? Anybody that says that ham radio is not technical enough, go to hamsci.org. And find some really cool stuff there, because and that's interesting to listen to. You know, when I attended their event in March of this year, virtually, they did a virtual event in March of this year. You know, I listened to the whole thing because I recorded them all, so I listened to the whole thing, and some of it I understood, and some of it I didn't. Some of it was a little bit over my head, but you know, if you want to grow in ham radio, that's one area you can grow in. If you've got kind of if meteorology was ever interesting to you, space weather, astronomy, any of this kind of good stuff, that's definitely the marriage of ham radio to those other subjects. So I'll bring you back in there, Frank.
Hey.
I
didn't see a lot of questions in the chat, but a lot of people did say that sounds like an awesome project, and they're going to sign up today.
Good. I shared the link 3 or 4 times, so good.
Yeah. It looks pretty easy to get it set up if you have an HF radio.
Right.
All you got to do is tune in to, with an AM mode on an upper sideband to one of the carriers and record it.
Oh, okay.
And there's a bunch of steps on how to download audio recording software if you haven't done that before.
Yeah.
And there's a video on how to do it too.
I was interested because they had talked about, I don't remember if it was at the HamSCI event or at Tapper, they had talked about doing a QSO party where they went to the, well, I don't know where they went to it, but they went to, like you got these watch parties for eclipses, right? And didn't you do one of those? Didn't you go to one of the eclipse watch party? Was that 2017?
What year was that? That was the one when it strafed the United States in the middle of it. I flew up to St. Louis and did a watch party up there. And if you haven't seen an eclipse, make plans to do that. That is a life, not changing, but it's a life experience.
It's an experience for
nothing
sure.
Like
and it doesn't happen all the time. So wouldn't it be cool to find where a watch party is going to happen and say, okay, we're going to go up here and set up a QSO party at the watch party. Set up portable HF.
I'm planning to be at a watch party because the 2024 one's coming through the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Oh, it's coming. Okay, so she said there was one in 2023 and another in 2024, and she just said North America.
I don't know about the 2023 eclipse. I haven't heard about that, but I know about the 2024 one because it's coming to the area. My plan is still to get more camera equipment for that because I really want to take some good pictures.
I wonder if the hunting lease would be a good place for a watch party.
Could be. I was thinking about a planetarium.
No. Well, I was thinking about some place where you could see the sky better, not as much city lights.
Well, you don't really. This city lights don't matter in the
Do
eclipse,
they not?
Man.
Okay.
The sky just goes dark, like almost at night, and you get that corona ring that is just amazing.
Yeah. I remember they were passing around cameras, or they were telling you how to build cameras, and several people had cameras. And I went up to my mailbox where I have all my shipping stuff done, and he had a camera there. He's like, "Have you seen the eclipse?" And the camera was like, "Oh, cool!" So that was kind of fun to watch. But
so the 2023 eclipse, goes down part of West America, and where is a good picture of it? I had it in. There we go. Here, I'm just going to share this out if anyone likes to see. Yeah. It looks like it might touch Big Bend National Park.
Oh, cool. So Rob is saying in the chat that the 2024 will be almost 100% in New Hampshire at my sister's place. I'll be there for sure. So, but you said part of it would be in North Texas, right?
That's what I believe.
Yeah, maybe it's not maybe it's a partial. Maybe he's talking about a full eclipse there, and there's going to be a partial eclipse here. I don't know what he means by that. But
so the full eclipse on the 2024 one we are in a totalitarian swath of the path.
Okay.
We're not at the total totalitarian. That's kind of south of DFW area.
Okay.
And
how far south?
Not that far, man. It goes right between Fort Worth and Waco. Dude,
I bet we could find a place down there to set up. Okay, well that's still like 4 years away, but
yeah,
we should put that on the calendar.
Your dear lease does look like it's going to be out of the total eclipse path, though.
What does?
Your dear lease.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, we'll find a place to go then. We'll find a place to go. That'd be fun. That'd be a fun.
Don says barbecue, cigars, radios, eclipse. Heck yeah.
Yeah, if we're going to, heck yeah. If we're going out in the field and setting up for a QSO party, we'll be smoking some cigars for sure. Everybody's talking about your antenna, and you keep saying what antenna?
I don't see an antenna. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the arrow antenna that's behind you.
There's an arrow antenna?
Yes, there is.
I have a board game back there, and then the Viking hat.
It's not a camouflage antenna, so I know you can see it.
Oh, Corpus Christi in the 2023 one.
Oh. Yeah, Izzo says something about Galveston. I'm like, well, Galveston's not between Fort Worth and Waco, so no.
Yeah, but Galveston is also not on the map for the 2024 one.
No, I didn't think it was from the way you were reading about it. Oh. Anyway, Artie Mercer's in the house. There outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
A couple of people are asking. Let's do a quick recap. What are you having for lunch?
Turkey sandwich.
Turkey sandwich.
Have you had these jalapeno ranch ruffles?
No.
They are quite tasty. Anything with jalapenos I like. Those are pretty good. Yeah, Izzo's talking about coming up to the Northeast. You know, if Rob's doing something up there and Izzo's up there, which they did a POTA video together last week, whenever that was.
Mm-hmm.
And we might have to schedule a trip. We've got 4 years to plan this, so yeah.
Well, we got 3 years. Like we could do both.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the one that
and 2024.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now the question is that 2023 one, does it hit Big Bend? And I think it's just out of this path because that would be awesome.
But there's other parts of Texas it hits, right?
Oh yeah. It's just along the Texas Mexico border.
Oh, okay.
Outside the Panhandle, or not the Panhandle, that the little dip where El Paso is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because that dip is where Big Bend is. So yeah, it's going to be outside of there.
Rob says, come to my sister's cabin in New Hampshire. I've never been. Let me think. Before I say that, no, I've never been to New Hampshire. I've been to New York. Wait a minute. Was it New Hampshire that my wife was working in that time? I think that was Connecticut where we spent. She was working up there. She'd fly up there every week and fly home. She did that for several months. And I flew to meet her. I flew in New York. I flew in. I think it was. I think it was. What's the New Jersey airport? Newark. I flew into Newark to meet her, and she was staying in New York, but she was working in New Hampshire or something like. I don't remember the situation. It was a few years ago. I don't remember. Anyway, I was up there, but I don't think I spent any time actually in New Hampshire. I think we might have driven through it for like, I don't know, not very long, but it was Connecticut. She was working. I'm pretty sure she was working like for a company out of Connecticut or something at that time. But I don't think I've ever actually been in New Hampshire. I'll have to double check that and see. But that would be a cool. Of course, this is 4 years from now, right? So, what month of 2024 is it supposed to be? Did you say July or what? Or did you?
The dates are October 14th, 2023.
Okay.
And the other one is. You give me the path.
Sure. Somebody in Discord says
April 8th, 2024.
Yeah. April, yeah. KA3WOW Monty in Discord. Thanks for the info there, bud. Thanks for being here also. So, okay. So I did see earlier in the chat, so this brings up a good I love you. I love it when you guys are in the chat participating and talking about whatever we're talking about and asking questions. So, thank you everybody who's chatting. Really good to have you guys here. Somebody asked about the extra class earlier. So here's the current plan. I've been working on I've been working on this in the background. I haven't said much about it, but I think we've got a plan now. This is not set in stone yet, so don't go quote me on this, but here is what it looks like is going to happen. Okay, the North Richland Hills Club, which is nrharc.org, I think it is. They're the ones who I did the general class live stream for a few months back. I want to say that was like April, May timeframe. They are going to be offering an extra class via Zoom, a virtual extra class, in January and February. They've got some dates that they're looking at. They haven't set the dates in stone yet, but it's going to be basically a few weekends before Winter Field Day and a few weekends after Winter Field Day. I want to say they said they were planning on doing 5 Saturdays, not in a row, but 5 Saturdays worth of material, because there's almost twice as much material in the extra question pool as there is in the technician and the general extra pool. So they're talking about doing they're going to do it. They don't know the dates yet. No, not exactly. So they're going to do it over Zoom. So they'll invite people over Zoom to come in, and what they don't want to live stream it, which is okay with me, because that would be like 5 Saturdays that I have to take up out of my, well, first of all, hunting season goes through most of January, if you consider extension season. And then you got winter, and then they said they weren't going to do it on the Saturday of Winter Field Day, so that's good. So we can still participate in Winter Field Day. And then as of right now, my wife and I are looking about going back to Galveston sometime in February. We haven't set the dates yet. So, but they didn't want, I asked them about live streaming it, and they're like, well, we don't know if we want to live stream this. It's a different instructor. And I'm like, okay, can I record it and post it later. And he's like, actually, we were going to record it but we hadn't decided where and how to post it later. So the guy that coordinated the general class put me in touch with this guy who's going to do the extra class. I'm like, dude, if you can record it or let me record it, whichever the case may be, maybe both, maybe have a double recording, and let me post it to YouTube later. So I think they're going to let me do that. Fingers crossed. I think they're going to let me do that. They seem willing to let me do that. So fingers crossed, yes. By March, of course, I got to let them get through the whole class, and then I got to take 5 days. It's going to be 6 to 8 hours per Saturday for 5 Saturdays. I got to take all that material and edit it and post it. So, but, it's been like 4 years since I posted my first technician class, and that people have been asking me, when are you going to do an extra class? When are you going to do an extra class? So finally, we got somebody who's actually doing an extra class and willing to let me record it, or let it be recorded and give me the files, however that might work out. So yes, hopefully sometime by the end of February, I will have material on my hard drive for an extra class, and then be able to post that on YouTube for everyone to see. And you know what, Frank, we might do a watch party, you and I, because we both need to get our extra upgrade from General. So we might do something about, hey, let's go through this part of it, or after we go through it together, maybe we'll do a testing session. We'll do some practice tests online together, and like on a live stream or something. I don't know. We might do something fun with it. That sounds like
fun.
Yeah, that might be kind of fun to do something like that. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, so that's being worked on. More to come on that later. Definitely not going to be putting too much time or effort into that before the first of the year. It's all going to happen in January. But I will.
When's
keep you guys
the
posted
extra
on that.
question pool rollover?
It just renewed this last June. I think it was this June. So
I see it rolled in 2019. So it's going to
was it 20? Okay, then it was last year. I couldn't remember exactly when it was. So there's 3 different levels of license in the USA. Technician, general, and extra. So how it works is this, okay? The technician, every question pool is good for 4 years. So they renew the technician 1 year, and then they renew the general the next year. Then they renew the extra the following year, the 3rd year, and then they take a year off, and then they start over with the technician. So that's how it's done. So if you've got so most of your question pools last for about 4 years. That's why when I put up that first technician class in, I think it was 2016, it expired in like 2018. So I recorded the new class from the Hearst Amateur Radio Club and put it up, or that was the live stream we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the question pool is good for 4 years. But you know what? If you study the question and take your test on the very last day before the new question pool comes out, you're still good. so it's just, it's like I took my first technician test in 1994, and I've never taken a technician test since then. And the question pool is way different now than it was back then. So, it's just, but if it renewed in 2019, then it won't renew again until 2022. So if that number is correct. So, all right, I'm going to turn my camera off.
2023, because it's 4 years.
If it's yes, that's right, 2023. You're right. Sorry. Wow, you outmathed me on that one, Frank. That's a scary situation when Frank outmaths me. So actually, math might be your strong suit. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna turn my camera off for a second so I can scratch my nose.
I still see it.
I know you do.
Anyways, while you do that, just say, hey, everyone, thank you for joining us. We are not doing a giveaway. I was about to say we're doing a giveaway, but we're not. Just thank you for joining us.
No, yeah.
We did talk about the HamSCI, the 2020 Eclipse Festival frequency measurement.
Yep.
That was closer at the beginning of the video. It was very interesting on what they're going to do. They're going to use a bunch of amateur radio operators to measure using the who is it? WWV timestamp for a carrier tone, and since they know when that tone or signal was sent out, they know when or how long it's going to take to get to you, and they can measure a whole bunch of stuff about the atmosphere.
Right.
So that's interesting. I wonder they're studying also, how the layers collapse, and when the sun goes down, the F band collapse or gets
it merges.
Bigger.
The F1 and F2 band merge.
Yeah. I wonder if that happens during the eclipse in that time.
That's a good question. I don't know.
That's a good question. They can't really see that in the 2020 eclipse.
No,
because we're not in close to totality, but in the 2023 and 2024,
right,
that'd be very cool to see.
Could. Wow. Sheesh.
From Discord, KE4GBW says that he doesn't join for the free stuff, just a #1 fan.
I saw that. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's Brad. Thanks a lot, Brad. Thanks for being here, buddy. Appreciate you and everybody else. Yeah, John Garber's talking about WWVH from Hawaii. So yeah, they've got a time standard down there, but the WWV, I'm not sure if they have different locations or not. They might, but one location's actually in the northern Colorado. I was actually there, and I I didn't realize how close I was to it when I was up there. But I forget the name of the town right now. But I did a dog transport up there, and I dropped off 3 or 4 rescue dogs from our rescue dog organization that we work with, and I drove them up there. It took me about 12 hours to get there. So I left early in the morning, and dropped the dogs off, and I spent the night there, and then I drove home the next day. And if I had known how close Fort Collins, that's it. Yeah, Dennis, thank you very much. Fort Collins. Fort Collins, Colorado, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours or something like that, north of Denver. And Fort Collins. I didn't realize how close I was. I was like, man, I should have freaking gone to WWV when I was there. So the next time, I mean, the Fort Collins people, they do transports with the rescue organization down here in Dallas all the time. There's been 2 or 3 transports since then. I haven't driven. I've not driven up there just the one time. But the next time, I'm gonna go up there to WWV, see if I can time it right. Where I don't know if they do tours of the place. I seriously doubt they'll let me fly my drone there, but I might take it just to see if I can fly my drone over the time standard in Colorado. But yeah, but it'd be a cool place to go up there and just kind of visit for a few minutes anyway. So even if you can't do anything else there, but always good.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So just Fort Collins in Hawaii. Okay. I was thinking that there was another one, but I might be thinking of South America. So she said Kristina was talking about PPE down in Brazil. I think she said it was another time standard. Well, anyway, cool, man. So we'll catch up with Bob next time. And he wanted to show us his mobile setup with his new P2 tablet. He's got this, I think it's a 7-inch, but he's coming out with a 10-inch version. But right now he's got a 7-inch version, a full Android tablet with a dual band radio built into it and SMA connector at the top. GPS. I think it'll take a SIM card. Yeah, he said you could make a phone call on it if you want to, but it'll work over just Wi-Fi also if you don't want to put a SIM card in a tablet.
Nice.
But you mount it in your vehicle. Here you go. Mount it in your vehicle, and then it uses GPS to tell what repeaters you're close to. So you one-click programming and take an external mic connected to it and key it up, and a SMA connector out the top with an antenna on your vehicle. So, but yeah, he's got that set up. He's got the prototype set up, and I told him he was going to have to send me one when he's got more than just one so that I could do some on the road videos. So, last thing I'll say, we're almost at the top of the hour here. Frank, you probably got to go.
Yep. Getting close.
Last thing I'll say, this week, I got an email from Dayton Hamvention, and I got an email from the Greene County Fairgrounds, because we're probably going to have an RV spot there next May. Everything right now is a go. Hamvention emailed and said, "Yep, we're going to do it." Greene County Green County Fairground. Green Country's in Oklahoma. That's where Green Country Hamfest in Oklahoma. Green County Xenia Fairgrounds in Xenia, Ohio, emailed me and said, hey, it looks like Hamvention is going to go forward. You've still got your spot reserved, et cetera, et cetera. Do you want to do this? So, great news if Dayton goes forward, if Hamvention goes forward. Really, really, really looking forward to getting to another Hamfest. If the next Hamfest that I'm able to go to is Dayton, then I'm good with that. They canceled a little local show here in January. They canceled Hamcation in February, and I think it was Val that told me that they'd canceled Houston. Although I never went and actually looked that up myself, because Houston is the first weekend in March, which is not a huge show. Oh, their website's down. Okay. Their website's down. I'm getting a debug error when I go to their website, houstonhamfest.org. But, hey, guys, Google Houston Hamfest. Everybody do this. It is in front of a computer right now. Google Houston Hamfest. Just Google it. Houston space Hamfest. Hit enter and Google. And look and see, you know, like the fifth entry down says videos. And when I do it, the first video I see is Frank and me live from the Houston Hamfest in 2019. So let me know if everybody else is seeing that video when you Google Houston Hamfest, and then Google gives you suggestions of videos like just a little bit down the page.
The first two of videos are you.
Oh, the first...
I got the first two.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that one was from 2018. That was... Yeah. Yeah, you're right. So I wonder if everybody else sees that too. Anyway, so Hamvention right now supposedly is going to be ongoing. Of course, that's like 6 months away, 5 months away, 5 or 6 months away. So, gosh, I hope they do it. I really hope they do it. You know, even if I have to wear a friggin' mask throughout the whole thing, I'll still go. Really looking forward to getting out to another Hamfest again. But anyway, so COVID shut the website down. Uber Geek says COVID shut the Houston Hamfest website down. That's funny. Yeah, Hamvention said they wouldn't cancel this year too. Yes, I read that as well. However, Huntsville said that about 2 or 3, 4 months before their event in 2020, which they ended up canceling. And I read somewhere, now I didn't hear this directly from the horse's mouth at Orlando, but I read something online, I think it was on QRZ News, about how they said that they were not going to cancel Orlando. Oh yeah, we're not going to cancel that. And then they canceled it. So things can change. I mean, nobody's at fault. It's not fake news or anything like that. I'm just like, you know, things can change. Fingers crossed they don't cancel Dayton because, or Hamvention, I should say, yeah, Hamvention, Dayton Hamvention. Yeah, Chip says, looks like you're the first video when I Google. Good. Yeah, cool. Make sure you put a hole in your mast for the cigar. No doubt. Yeah. Hello from, there's Bill. Hello from Denver, working on tech license, want a high quality mobile radio. Have looked at a lot of videos, reviews, but still could use a recommendation. So Bill, I have a video I put up 2 or 3 months ago. It says best mobile for 2020. What's your depends on your price point. Realistically, for the money, right now, for the money, ICOM IC 2730. Dual band, less than $250. ICOM is a fantastic brand of radio. And dual band, removable head, remote head, ICOM IC 2730. Go to rnl.com and just search for IC 2730. That's probably the best buy that's out right now, in my opinion. Maybe the 72, maybe the Yaesu FT 7250, also dual band, adds. The ICOM doesn't have digital. The Yaesu does. The problem I have with the not problem I have, the difference. The Yaesu is dual band, but it's single display. The ICOM is dual band and dual display, so you can monitor 2 meters and 440 or 2 440 channels or whatever at the same time. The Yaesu is one display at a time, but you can go to two bands, and you can also do Yaesu System Fusion. And that one's around 220, 215, 220, 230, somewhere in there. I don't know. The prices have fluctuated a bit. The prices in my head are from Black Friday last year, which I think they've ended that, but you're going to see some sales about Christmas and end of the year stuff throughout the course of this month. So keep a watch at rnl.com and keep a watch at gigaparts.com is my suggestion. But one of those two would be my recommendation. So, all right, man, it's 1:00.
Sounds good.
Appreciate you being here, Frank. I'm going to kick you off the screen for a minute, but I'll talk to you later. And I've got your Anytone radio, and it's in my charger up there, so it's all charged up and ready to go.
Awesome.
Okay.
I'll be around, man.
All right, man. See ya. Have a good one.
Later, y'all.
So, let me turn that. There we go. So that is that. Appreciate everyone being here today. Thank you for the participation in the chat. Go click on the link that I shared earlier from the Festival of Frequency, and that sounds like a really fun project. And we will catch you guys next week. Next week on December 9th, I'm planning a special edition lunchtime live stream for my YouTube members. So if you're a member of the YouTube channel, next week's going to be all for you. And I'm going to send you guys an email, or not an email. I can't send you an email because YouTube doesn't give me your email. But I'm going to send you a message on my community tab sometime between now and then. And next week's lunchtime live stream is going to be for YouTube members. Everybody's welcome to watch, but it's going to be directed towards YouTube members. So 73 to everybody. Thank you for being here today. And let's see. Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow, Thursday night ham radio starting around 5 o'clock in the evening. Go catch the playlist on Steve KM9G's channel called Temporarily Offline. And we'll see you then tomorrow night.